What weird habits have you developed from growing up poor? I still can't bring myself to write in Mad Lib books or on things that could be reused. Growing up ultra poor, it was a rare treat to get something frivolous, but Mad Libs were also semi-educational, so every once in a while I'd get a new Mad Lib book from my dad. But I felt a ton of anxiety about wasting them by directly writing in them. If I numbered the blanks and then wrote on a separate sheet of paper with the corresponding numbers, I could reuse the books over and over again. Being really poor made me live in this awful anxiety-driven state of don't use it up because you might not get any more anytime soon. And you'd better use it all and not waste anything, which made me overthink and overanalyze my actions. I was confronted by this preference to not mess things up in my master's degree program, because the professor would expressly tell me it was okay to write on the handouts because she'd share the digital copies with us, so we'd have a clean copy to use in our own classes later, and I still couldn't do it. Using plastic grocery bags as trash bags. Don't really see the point in using actual garbage bags. Anytime someone tries to buy me food or anything for me, I always go for the dollar menu or try to go for the lowest amount even if they say buy whatever. I mean, that's just courtesy. When people offer to buy me Starbucks, I order tea. It's the cheapest thing you can get from there. There's an expectation not to order the lobster equivalent on a menu when someone is being nice to you. Operating under a barter system with friends. Where I grew up, there wasn't much money. So people often bartered goods and services and often exchanged small handmade gifts as payment. Then I moved and discovered that wealthier people don't do that at all. Not letting anyone in the house. Even though I don't have to as much, I still calculate how many hours I have to work in order to afford something to decide if it's a need or a want. Do I want to work 2.5 hours to fill my gas tank, or 2.5 hours to buy a single t-shirt? I want the shirt, but the shirt isn't going to get me to work. I really want a Switch and several new games, and I'll have to work at least 9 days to afford the Switch and the 3 games I want. And after I've worked those 9 days, I can't justify spending the money on the Switch and the games. The narrator finds that whenever they have a big expense on the horizon, or something they've been saving towards for a while, one starts to think of other purchases in terms of what fraction of the big spend they would equate to. It gets really hard to enjoy things like an annual gym membership when you realize it's 1/100th of an apartment deposit. It makes you value it more though, I guess. For a brighter side to this, the following commenter provides a counter-argument. This was a huge issue for me. My husband helped me realize that hours of enjoyment are worth something at least. What I did to get our Switch and 2 games is to save 2 days of work time per paycheck. I sacrificed some other things for entertainment and bought it for him on Father's Day. We don't have kids, but he is my puppy papa. After calling around to find the cheapest used Switch combo, we've already enjoyed it for hours more than I worked to get it. Also, our nieces think we're nothing short of gods. I legit cringe when I buy anything slightly expensive, and I find myself constantly buying the super cheap store brands instead of the name brand stuff. I mean, Costco liquor is literally made in the same plants as the name brand stuff. I dated a richer girl who told me she'd never had Chef Boyardee or SpaghettiOs before, but was disgusted by them. Apparently her parents had always told her, growing up, that canned food was for dogs. What the frick? Her saying that hit especially close to home, because I eat SpaghettiOs with a grilled cheese at least 3 times a week. My dad grew up even poorer than me, and he won't eat Chef Boyardee because it's so crappy. I like cheap wine. Even when my budget allows for a $75 bottle, I'll buy the $10. I still prefer thin, rough bath towels. Big fluffy towels are too fluffy. It feels weird when fluffy towels get wet. I grew up middle class and I hated fluffy towels. My mother would buy new ones every couple of months, and it drove me freaking bonkers to the point I just stashed my own supply of rough towels. The other day I was at a thrift store and I saw some towels in a pack and I brought them. $6 brought me 10 towels in what I consider to be perfect condition. After some hot washes with enzymatic detergent and borax, they were amazing. I love these towels. I'm not sure if it's odd or unusual, but my parents used to tell me, eat all the food served, since we were poor and sometimes they wouldn't eat so I could have a full serving of food. I'm no longer poor, but I still eat the full plate no matter how full I am. And yes, I'm aware that you can put food in the fridge for the next day, so it's not the most healthy thing either, but it's the flawed solution my parents found so I wouldn't be picky with the food or not eat on a whim. This really messed me up as a kid. Now I just go without and I eat leftovers from the plates of the kids I watch for friends and family. They think it's funny that I'm only hungry when cooking and when everything else is done. I hope they never figure out how poor I really am. Toast with butter and cinnamon is my favorite go-to for breakfast. Eating fast. I had 4 siblings and only so much food was made for dinner. If you didn't eat fast, you didn't eat. Yeah, I know the feeling. However, I learned to eat fast from prison. I haven't served time since '94, but I still wolf down my food to this day. It's a hard habit to break. I just buy 1 pair of trainers and I wear them until they fall off my feet. Then I buy a new pair. I make good money as an adult, but I still do this. I also don't buy branded clothes. I worked with a guy and we earned the same money, yet he collected limited edition trainers and drove an expensive car. I just couldn't comprehend the waste in money. I cycle everywhere because it's good for my health. I moved to Switzerland in a few weeks for a job that pays 2.5 times my current salary, and I still intend to cycle everywhere. I am, to this day, unable to manage my money. Going from not being able to spend anything to having at least $300 left for whatever I want made me spend recklessly. You'd think it would be the opposite growing up poor, but spending feels so good. This is fairly common. Most people in your situation will buy things since experience has taught them they don't know when they'll have money to spend things on again. So they end up spending it all, thus having no more money. I love Little Caesars $5 pizza more than fancy brick oven pizza because spending that gives me too much anxiety to enjoy the food. I was visiting my folks and my mum ordered pizza from Round Table, Southern California, and it came out to $64 for 2 large pizzas and 1 small. What the frick? Not having a lot of clothes. I can't stand a cluttered closet, and having more than about 3 pairs of shoes seems excessive to me. Ditto. I had 4 pairs of shoes once, and I felt like I was suffocating, but they were all necessary. 1 pair for work, 1 for church, 1 for daily use, and 1 pair of gym shoes. Not filling up the gas tank because you might really need the money later. $10 at a time. Save another $10, that's food for a week just in case. There were 5 of us growing up, so we always had our good clothes and our everyday clothes. We changed out our good clothes as soon as we got home from school, and I still have this habit to this day. I changed out of my work clothes and into lounge around the house I don't care clothes as soon as I get home. The narrator does this too, but it's as much out of a desire, nay, a need to lounge on the couch in his underpants in a slovenly, disgusting fashion than any sense of self-preservation for his good clothes. Off-brand foods. So much cheaper. Love me a can of beans. If I have no dinner, no problem, I get a can of beans. They're also super healthy and food for your digestive system. You know what? I've gotten used to not having a bed frame, and I ended up using just the mattress and box spring and having old flat pillows instead of new fluffed up ones. I can sleep anywhere. Slept on the floor for a good couple of years, and I can handle heat pretty well because we didn't have AC. It was a 1-window unit until senior year. Can literally watch anything and be entertained because we only had 1 local Channel 10 station. Saying all this sounds like I grew up in the 50s, but gosh darn it, this was all in the mid-2000s. I still buy used clothes. Me too. I try to say it's because I want to be environmentally conscious, but really, I just can't bring myself to spend more than $6 on a top. I eat a lot of frozen chicken pot pies. The crust is amazing. Lots of people mix it all up. I eat the crust last, but I hate crust on actual pie. I developed a dislike of wearing new shoes. I prefer old, worn-out shoes. The new pairs feel too rigid. Even though I have the money to replace them now, I still wear the same pair of boots I brought my senior year in high school. I'm in my mid-20s now. They've been worn through every crappy job I've worked through college, and in every office job I've worked since getting my degree. Through most of my good times, hardships, and adventures, they've been what's on my feet. It's an odd thing to get attached to, but when you've had them for years and they're broken in just right, they're a tough thing to replace. Keeping all of my clothes even though I'll never wear them. I didn't have much growing up, so now I feel like I need to keep everything. A close friend grew up very poor and unsupported. Things were always a competition between him and his brothers, so he maintained that mentality into adulthood in many respects. Fast forward to us going to a Smash Bros tournament. He's egging me on while I'm playing the other people, but I'm sincerely supportive of him when he goes up for his own match. As we leave the store, he basically says, "Wow, I was a butthole to you while you were constantly cheering me on. I feel kinda bad now." He just prefers being competitive in nearly any aspect, though it's certainly gotten way calmer lately. I get freaked out if my pantry isn't full. It doesn't even matter if it's food I like, I just have this fear of not having food in the house. Not turning on the heater no matter how cold it gets, just layer up and lots of blankets. Saving every cent I can. I'm talking 80 cents for 60-cent cans of beans, and never buying actual brand name anything. Pinching pennies never seems to leave you.
You can submit your own stories to be featured here on the channel. The story submission link is in the description below. And if you want to listen to some vibey music in the background, check out easymode, also linked below, and subscribe.
Mac and cheese with tuna. Cheap, but so good. I ignore the dates on a lot of food. The milk I smell just before I use it to make sure it's not sour. Constantly checking the bread for mold when I know it's past the date. Smelling the meat before I cook it to make sure it's okay. Unless something is like 6 or more months past the date, it's usually good. The expiration is just the warning that means you have to start checking it. This shouldn't be a poor thing. Food waste is so terrible and most of those dates are either inaccurate or mean best before, which is about quality, not edibility. And with some things you can pick or cut off the mold like cheese, maybe bad fruit in a bunch, cooking it more thoroughly or cooking it early to then eat a couple of days later. Buying cheap things and making peace with the fact that they will eventually break, it may not taste good or it won't fit me, instead of investing in something long-lasting. I can't travel. I'd love to, I could probably afford to now, but dropping any amount of money on a trip seems insane to me. I grew up never really going anywhere outside of a 3-hour drive and only stayed in hotels maybe about 3 times while I was under 18. It also feels weird to be in debt, but managing it. I have medical bills that I'm paying off, and credit card stuff, but it's all pretty manageable. Growing up, my mum constantly would get payday loans, and we had bill collectors calling non-stop about medical debt, and my mum maxed out every credit card she owned. So I was taught that debt was horrible and you could never get out of it. Also, I really love microwaved tortillas and cheese as a whole meal. That and lettuce, cheese, and ranch wrapped up in a tortilla. I think back on it though, and I'm really not sure how my parents raised me with how much they made. I make double now what both my parents' combined income was when I was in high school, and I really don't even make that much. Plus-sized women. The only skinny chicks in the hood were the working girls who did smack. You know, I never considered this aspect of growing up in a rougher neighborhood. I mean, that might just be your personal taste as well. But it sure would be interesting to do a study of some sort on it based on people from different backgrounds. Leftovers are my jam. I take home friends' leftovers. I have no shame. I can find a good way to reheat just about anything. Expiration dates are like yellow lights. The concept of selling a car is entirely foreign to me. We drive cars until they die so completely that even the junkyard doesn't want to pay for them. Keeping the lights off almost all the time, or biking everywhere. Only ever buying clothes if there's a really good sale. I never just go out to buy new clothes. I like fake maple syrup better than the real stuff. I love walking everywhere. If it's within a 60-minute walk, sometimes even longer, I'm that person that will walk and wants everyone to join me for the exercise and adventure, when everyone else is begging me to take a 5 or 10-minute Lyft or Uber. Heck no! Why would I pay for something when I can get exercise and have a pleasant stroll for free? It's just so nice to walk around and see your city. My friends will pay $5 for an Uber to not walk 5 minutes in the relatively okay part of downtown LA. But I enjoy walking around and seeing the buildings, people, hot dog stands, and random YouTubers, which I would normally have missed out on had I gotten an Uber and started scrolling Instagram. Little strolls make you appreciate the little things in life. I'll start with my own. I can't stand actual quality toilet paper. I can only tolerate the cheap sandpapery thin garbage. The nice plush stuff feels gross to me. We used to eat butter bread, which is just butter on one slice of bread folded over hot dog style. Still slaps to this day, I don't care. I'm plus-sized and losing weight quickly now. I've come to believe being fat in the first place, for me, has a lot to do with never knowing if we'd have enough food from week to week. Also, I grew up with the mentality of, if it's free, take it and take as much as you can. I used to enjoy just eating a tub of saltines, with butter if I felt fancy. My parents grew up poor and we didn't rise well into the middle class until a decade into my father's career. It still shows. We always do leftovers and plan several meals around discounted food. Say a big piece of beef or turkey after the holidays. We'll have a nice meal and then eat nothing but turkey for about 2 weeks afterwards. Even now that my dad is well off, they don't buy new cars and their house is a construction project because they brought a teardown in a nice neighborhood. My siblings and I all play instruments and all our instruments are second-hand or broken pieces my dad refurbished and gave to us as our birthday or Christmas presents. We also do joint mum and dad and grandma and grandpa gifts, laptops as high school graduation presents. When I was younger, my mum used to have a coupon book and she lived by it. But after my dad started making more, she just stopped. I also remember driving and never flying, like driving clear across the US because it was cheaper than 4 tickets plus a dog. Only buying clothes to go back to school, and then finding out that in the working world, this turns into only buying clothes for a new job. I don't like giving or receiving opulent, frivolous gifts. I always feel harshly like the money should be saved or spent on something practical. Eating cold food out of a tin. Not a problem. Conversely, hot cocoa made with water. I never take anything for granted. Even though I have a good job that pays 6 figures, I always spend frugally and have ample savings and a backup plan in the event that I should become unemployed. I don't waste money on non-essentials and I try to make things last as long as possible, like cars or electronics, before I replace them. I secretly feel like anyone who orders any drink but water at a restaurant is insane. Even when my in-laws take us out, I order water because I don't want to take advantage of them. Not flushing the toilet. My dad said it was to save water. I flush water in public bathrooms, just not my own. Ugh, my dad used to do this. I'd wake up in the middle of the night to take a leak, lift the toilet lid and be confronted by the odor of his fermenting pee. I like splurging when it's for something special for someone else. I hate buying something nice that I really want for myself, and worse when someone else goes out of their way to give me something nice. Canned green beans are better than frozen or fresh green beans. Change my mind. When people use 2 to 3 paper towels to dry their hands off when it can be done with just 1 sheet, or using paper towels at all, that's what hand towels are for. Dish rags were for washing dishes and Dad's old white undershirts were cut into pieces for cleaning. Paper towels were a luxury right up there with paper plates. No spending money on stuff you're just going to throw away. Except toilet paper, thank God my parents were never too cheap for that. Thank you to our authors for once again confronting the narrator with the truly rainforest butchering amount of paper towels he goes through on a weekly basis. I've really got to tone that crap down. I grew up with some money but don't have much nowadays. My family bought an old house and renovated it. I was involved there since I was about 10 years old. And I've always been interested in crafting and woodworking and such. I learned electronics in a specialized school for 2 years until I decided to do something else. So I like doing stuff myself. I know how to fix most electronic devices, so when I want something new, I just buy it as broken off eBay or flea markets and fix it. I don't remember what I paid for this 21-inch LG screen that I'm currently looking at, but it wasn't much because it didn't work. A capacitor for less than €1 fixed it. I do woodworking and build my own furniture, some at least, preferably with wood that others don't need anymore. I always cook at home and bake my own bread. And actually, I buy cheap, but usually stuff that's good quality. My latest is an old broken drill, Metabo. I paid €1 for it and it's already running again. People just don't know how to fix things and throw everything away once it stops working. Cold hot dogs are still one of my favorite snacks. Super cheap and quick, and it's basically a bologna tube. Also, not really a preference, but I'll never touch a random dog or walk up behind one without making myself known and asking the owner if it's okay. It seems obvious, but living in LA, people will grab or let their children pet strange dogs without even asking. Growing up, every dog was seen as a guard dog until someone said otherwise. Medicine, painkillers, and doctor visits are too expensive. If it isn't sufficient to interfere with work, then you deal with it. I'm between jobs at the moment. Recently went to a minute clinic in CVS because I thought I had a blood clot. I was there for less than 5 minutes, turned out to be a large burst blood vessel. Cost me $140, and the next time I think I'll just risk dying. A Totino's pizza roll in the microwave is better than a Totino's pizza roll from the oven. Leftovers must be eaten. Food waste is not a thing in my house. If I have to throw out any food, I just think, well, that's money and a meal wasted. It makes me anxious and angry. Can't help myself though. I was starved as a child along with being poor and was homeless for a year. Food is everything. I'm not materialistic and I can't really relate to those that are. I don't send food back that is wrong unless it's disgusting. I'll eat what was given to me. I slept in my jeans because there was no heating in my childhood home until my mum remarried. I did this until I was 14 and I noticed that some of the blue denim dye had actually made my knees bluish-grey. I had to stop then. Doing a large load of laundry so I don't waste water and detergent on a smaller load. My mum used to get annoyed when we did a load but didn't fill it all the way because it wasted water. My boyfriend's mum doesn't understand why I let the hamper become full because she'll do a load that has 4 pieces of clothing in it. She basically washes whatever she wore that day the same day. Maybe she'll combine 2 days' worth of clothes. I know exactly how much I can put in the washer and have it be really full, but not so full that the clothes don't come out fully cleaned. Also, ramen. Loved ramen when I was a kid and money was tight, and I love it now. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. Put the playlist on in the background to finish listening to all the stories, or if you want some vibey music to put on in the background, check out easymode. If you like Am I the Genius, give Am I the Jerk a shot. Everything linked in the description.